Hey everybody, it's Christina from the Castaway Kitchen. Jumping on here, unscheduled per usual. I wanted to talk about calories and macros and tracking. I did an Instagram live the other day talking about this, and I just feel um, like it's a really controversial subject, especially in the keto community. And I think that because I'm on the fringe in the sense of the keto community, because I do a very paleo keto, because I come from the AIP background and I've done all these Whole30s, I kind of have a unique perspective in that. I also am someone with weight loss goals. I've lost about 65 pounds over the last 3 years, and I still want to lose a little bit more, but not necessarily weight, because something I've learned along the way is that the number on the scale is so irrelevant. What you really want to lose is body fat, right? And that doesn't necessarily translate into pounds, because if you're putting on muscle and burning fat, you might stay the same weight, but your body is changing. And I've definitely experienced that. I'm part of a few Facebook groups, different, health groups and keto groups. And something that I see all the time is people, especially women, striving to reach these goals, these self-imposed restrictions, meeting calorie goals or calorie restrictions and macros, and feeling defeated because the scale isn't moving. And I think that at the end of the day, that kind of pattern is just going to lead to failure. Because for me, keto, like eating this way, this paleo keto way of eating, has meant freedom to eat to satiety, freedom to feel satisfied, to have energy. It isn't about, you can make anything. Oh, Bruce, my dog. You can make anything restrictive. I don't want keto to be another crash diet for me, because if I begin to starve myself, to be unhappy and struggle every single day with my food choices, then this isn't going to last. And if this doesn't last, then it's not a lifestyle change. And if it's not sustainable. So I've learned over a lifetime of yo-yo dieting and finally seeing actual results. I used to lose 30 pounds in 3 months, gain it back, be miserable for 2 years, crash diet again, gain it back. I mean, I've done this my whole life, which is why my metabolism has been so injured. So now it's been this slow process of losing weight, but I've been going in the right direction for 3 years. I've kept it off for 3 years. I've gone forward. And it might not be this like overnight thing, but for me, the big win is that it hasn't been this up and down. I've been this constant in this direction. And so many people in my life, and even friends and women, especially women in my life close to me, I've seen them in the last 3 years still riding that roller coaster. Oh my gosh, I tried a new diet, lost tons of weight. Oh, I went on a trip, or I got stressed about work, I gained it all back. I'm going to do this diet again. Why? Just stop going to ultra restriction. If you're eating less and working out more and eating less and working out more, and I have to stay under 20 grams of carbs, I have to stay under whatever. Oh my gosh, if you're miserable, it's not going to last. And then it's not worth it. Then it's not working. Then it's not how it's supposed to be. I mean, I get it. Some people use that and it works for short-term goals, but people think long game. I plan on doing this for the rest of my life because I'm not on a diet. This is just the way I eat. Awesome side effect is that I'm getting super healthy and strong and in shape. But anyways, so I did track. I'm not completely opposed to tracking. Even in my book, Made Whole, I talk about this. If you are new to a certain way of eating, especially keto, which is low carb, tracking is great to get you kind of like in the zone, because it does take a little while to get used to knowing what foods have more carbs than other, right? Like even veggies and stuff like that. So great. Short term, like you can only track for little months at a time, because if you end up becoming obsessed with like weighing your food and the grams into this, there is no food app on the planet that knows your body and the needs. You can put in the calculations and the TDE and the da-da-da and what you're burning and your metabolic rate. All of that is a guesstimate, people. It's not an exact science. And even these apps, when you put in an avocado, this many calories, this many carbs, this much whatever fat, that's an educated guess. It's not necessarily like this exact science. It's one of those things that there are no exacts. It's meant to be as a guide. And I think once it becomes an obsession, that's a slippery slope. So I understand the need for structure, and especially when you're new to something, I get it. And I think it can be useful. But okay, let's rewind a little bit. You can't wait to succeed to love yourself. You can't say, I will love myself when I lose X amount of weight, when I look a certain way, when I do certain things. That's not going to happen. You have to love yourself now to be successful. You can't wait for lightning to strike. Success is built on the mundane, on everyday choices, on going to the gym, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, walking, picking a fresh food over something quick, investing your time. It's boring. It's not this like romantic journey. It's not like in the movies with like some montage and, no, it's built on everyday little choices, and it takes time. It takes time. And I think the need for overnight success is just ruining us. It's like this instant gratification thing we got going on. It's not how our bodies are like, no, that's not how it works. So if you feel the need if you feel a little lost, especially going keto and you're like, I don't even know where to start, great. First, start by taking out starchy vegetables. For me, like I don't track, but I don't eat starches and I don't eat sugar. And I'm like, if I do eat fruit, it's berries. So for me, I don't even have to track anymore because the foods that I enjoy freely are always going to be always going to leave me where I feel great. If I decide to have a starch, like if I decide to eat a sweet potato, great. I do it at night because I know it might make me a little sleepy, and I carb up, and the next day is another day. I go with what my body tells me it needs. And those needs are fluid. They change. So if you marry yourself hardcore to a certain set of rules that someone else wrote, it might not work. No one has a manual that they can hand you. And I get that. Like so many books out there, books by people I respect, say, this is the answer. This is how you're going to lose fat. This is how you're going to get strong. This is how you're going to meet your goals. There's a lot of science to back that stuff up. I get it. I've read them. I've done them. I've done all the programs. And you know what? Nothing worked for me long term because my body changes, my needs change, and I've had to keep changing my approach and my diet along the way. So, I'm not an expert and I'm not a nutritionist yet. I'm going to start going to school for that soon, but I am a chef and I know food, and that's what I share with you guys, my food creations. I get it. That's my area of expertise. But through enough self-experimentation, especially my self-love journey, and what I've accomplished and what I haven't accomplished, I've learned that the only way to succeed is to invest in yourself. So Liz says she has to track because she tends to overeat. If you haven't found that sweet spot yet. I think so I'm an overeater as well, Liz, chronic overeater. And I think that sometimes I still do, like the other day, I kind of like overdid it on the avocado brownies at night, but organically the next day I ended up fasting way longer than I normally do. It wasn't like I overate, so I got to starve. I was just full. And that's where I've gotten with keto, where my body is like, okay, we overate, maybe that leptin resistance is a little, so let's reset those hunger signals. And I did a little extended fast without even thinking. It just happened organically. You'll get there, Liz. And I think that one of the reasons, other than insulin resistance, than estrogen dominance, than liver dysfunction, there are so many factors at play when you're healing your body. Another factor is there's leptin resistance, which is pretty much like our bodies don't know when we're full. Like we broke it. And that happened to me, a lifetime of overeating. I had no idea what it felt like to actually be hungry. But after doing keto long enough, now I know. Now I know when I'm hungry and when to stop eating. And my body really craves that sense of hunger, which is interesting. I used to call it muddy stomach, if that makes sense. It's it sounds better in Spanish, but that sense of my stomach is neither here nor there. Like, like when I graze I used to graze all day. So I was just constantly snacking. So my body was never like, hey, we need food. Where now when I break my fast, my body's like, hey, feed me now. And it's a very clear signal. And so I kind of wait for that before I eat again. Because my body, like, we're communicating now. And I let those signals kind of decide what I'm going to eat. Like sometimes I skip dinner because I had a really calorie dense lunch, and I don't eat because the clock tells me to eat. I eat because my body does. And it's okay to track. I'm not against tracking if you need to. I just think eventually, Liz, the point is to get to that point, to get to where you can communicate to your body. Use the tracking to get you on point, to find your sweet spot. And it's okay to play around with your macros. Like, I was doing under 20 grams of carbs for a while, like total. Then I was doing net carbs. Then I was doing carb ups. Then I stopped doing carb ups. And when I stopped tracking, I realized that what my days look like just by eyeballing it is about 50 grams total carbs a day. And with that, I eat plenty of veggies. I eat a lot of avocado. I'm doing more organ meat. If you guys watch my Instagram stories, I'm definitely really big on nutrient density. That keeps my cravings in check, because if I realize if I'm low on magnesium or potassium and I'm not doing organ meat at least once a month for like a week or two, my child feel completely deprived, fine. But just remember that long-term deprivation, like long-term calorie deficits, are just going to mess with your hormones even further. So, and they're not necessarily always the key to weight loss. Like calorie deficits, I tried a pretty big calorie deficit, like 25% for like 2 months in the winter, nothing. I haven't been tracking for like 2 or 3 months now. Definitely eating pretty high calories some days I don't. And I've seen better results because I think my body, because due to hormone imbalance, needed that extra, needed it to be like, hey, we're safe. You can lose weight now, if that makes sense. Anyways, I just wanted to jump on here and talk about that, because if you feel like you're failing because you can't hit the macros or hit the calories, or you're miserable with your deficit, then ditch them, because it's not about feeling like shit, like you're failing. If you constantly feel like you're failing, then change your approach. You're supposed to enjoy this. Like, love yourself now and everything else will follow. Stop punishing yourself to get to the end result. It's like you got to flip the switch. If that makes sense. I feel like I'm rambling. Anyway, I talk about this more in my book, and I'm always talking about this on Instagram. I think social media can be very difficult because people love to post before and after pictures and screenshots of their macros, and this is what worked for me. You have to do this. No. I have the answer. I know because I did this. No, I'm so happy that worked for you, but that might not work for me. So go into things with an open mind, knowing that, hey, I'm going to try someone's method. If it doesn't work for me, it doesn't mean that it's completely a failure. It means that I need to tweak it because my body is unique to me. No one has my medical history. No one has my emotional history. No one's body burns calories like mine. Like the way you sleep, how many steps you take, if you're a fidgeter, if you weightlift, if you run. There are a million different variations in everybody's daily life that makes our unique caloric needs unique to us. God, I've used the word unique like 9 times in the last sentence. Anyway, so that's just my message for today. Not to measure your success by whether you can fit into someone's little check boxes. The best thing to go by always is how you feel. If you have energy, if you feel good, if your skin feels good, if you're sleeping great, are you pooping? Is it healthy? All those things. Those are measures of success, of hormone balance, of gut, health, of everything. So yeah. Health first, self-love, the rest will come, right? All right, that is it for today. If you have any messages, as always, you can DM me and find me on the blog and on Instagram. And I hope you guys have a really good Wednesday. Bye.